Hello, good morning everybody. My name is Lory. I'm here at the Digital Arts Experience. Today we're going to be doing some Photoshop manipulation. We're going to be putting a giraffe on the moon. I thought that would be kind of fun, kind of different, and have some fun with it. So, one thing that I use all the time is a website called Unsplash. And basically it's free to use, and photographers kind of share and kind of, I guess, donate their photographs to this website, and you can download them for free. Most of them are available for commercial use, and they appreciate when you credit them, as all artists do. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look up the giraffe, and you could really use any animal for this. I just like giraffes, so we're going to pick that one. And what we want is a photograph of a giraffe where we can very easily, or as easily as possible, separate the giraffe from the background. I was playing around with this one a little bit earlier. That one was pretty good. Let's see what else we have here. I think that one might be the best one. This one has a little bit too much background, so I won't be as easy. This one, his legs are cut off. We want his legs. Let's see. I think that one was our best bet. It was kind of in like a nice pose too. This one. Just click on the image. Download free. As easy as that. And this photo was by Haley Sawyer. So thank you, Haley. And I think we downloaded it. Let's say unsplash.com wants to download multiple files. We'll say allow. And it comes up here. You know, let me bring my browser up a little bit. Should probably be fine. Okay. Now we'll go into our downloads here. Here it is. Here's the photo. It's gonna click and drag it into Photoshop, and it's gonna create a new canvas with that image. So I'll just let it load a little bit. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna adjust Photoshop here. Get my screen. I'm gonna minimize this one thing because I don't need that. I also don't need libraries. Alright, so really I just need my layers. Properties is fine, color's fine. Alright, so there's a couple ways that you can remove a subject from its background. You can use the pen tool, you can use the quick selection tool, you can use the magnetic lasso tool. I like to work in sections. So let's say the giraffe was on a white background or on like a blue background, maybe the sky was just all around him. You could really use the magic wand tool right here, and you can select the magic wand tool, detects what kind of colors is around, and it selects that section. And as you can see, this isn't really helpful because oh, one thing I forgot to do is over here in our layers, it's locked. We just want to double click it, and the layer becomes unlocked. So if I were to just quick select this and delete it, you can see I got all sorts of mumbo jumbo still left over. And that's fine, it takes a little bit longer to remove everything. And the other thing I want to do is get my history open, so you can see everything that I've done. And I'm going to do it over here. Great, okay, that's perfect. So let's start with the legs, because I think it's a little bit more simpler. Now, one thing I will say is when I'm doing this, sometimes I just kind of mindlessly go at it. But as I'm walking you through it now, what I would start to do first is use the quick selection tool, the magic wand tool, and I would select these bigger sections of one color. And as you can see, it does a pretty good job at selecting that. We can also go up here in the tolerance and increase it or decrease it. So if I get a a lower tolerance. Before it was at like 30, now it's at 11. You can see it selects a lot less. If I increase the tolerance, let's say to over 70, it selects all of this, which actually is pretty good. Did not do a bad job. As you can see, it kind of went up here into its arm, or leg, its front leg, which I don't really want. So I can decrease it a little bit. Still do it like that. That's okay. We can just go with it, you know? And then I can just select these. And then I can just go through and get rid of these extra pieces. Now, in one way this is easier to do rather than going through and clicking every single, like kind of going down the line of its leg with the pen tool. This can kind of get a whole section in one go, which works in some cases. In this case, it did. So now I'll show you a different way, but we'll keep our work here. And once we start to combine this giraffe in another image, we'll go through and really refine him. Okay, so the next tool we could use is here. Magnetic lasso tool. I'm sorry, the polygonal lasso tool. I don't really like the magnetic lasso tool. So we can start here. And literally it's as simple as just clicking along its hoof here, going up. And as you can probably hear by my mouse, see, I don't like it because sometimes it just, you can make a mistake really easily. So that's why I like to work in small sections, because I need to start all over. As you can hear from my mouse, it's probably clicking a lot, because you want to get as precise as possible. I wouldn't want to just do a straight line here, because I'd be cutting part of them off. And then I just kind of go around, connect it to where I started, and delete. So now I'm just going to go through. This might take a little bit of time, but it is worth it to get the subject out of the background as good as you can. I'm trying to see what this one grabs, and if I'm like, it's not going to work, I'll just go in and use the polygonal lasso tool again. You can scroll up if you're using a mouse. It's a lot easier. Again, you don't really have to be perfect at this stage. You can always go back and edit it. Go back down. And here's his tail, so we want to kind of go around it in the best way that we can. It's hard in this part to get like all the little strings, so we'll just kind of make a general shape. If we end up not liking how his tail looks, we can always just erase it and just pretend like it's behind his leg. You can't really see it. So for some reason, it automatically finished my selection here, which in this case, that's okay. It would have been horrible if it messed up and I would have had to start all over. So we did a pretty good job. We can go back and fix that. Let's continue on. Let's see what the selection is doing. Pretty good. Okay. And of course, I just want to say again, this is just my way of doing it. Different designers, different photo editors do things in all kinds of ways. And Photoshop is always adding new features to make things easier. I think that there's a new tool called like subject selection or something like that, but I haven't used it. Alright, let's get this hoop out. And for this, sometimes I'll just take the selection, I'll just erase a huge chunk out of the grass, because I just think it makes it a lot easier. Just wanna erase this part. Towards the completed, like the end of the completed project, we'll be kind of darkening up the hooves to match everything, so it doesn't really matter that much this time around. See what happens. And all these bits I can just get rid of. Another tip that's really helpful is in your layers, just this little square with like, it looks like it's kind of like a page getting dog-eared. Create a new layer. I'm going to drag it underneath the giraffe layer. It's actually doing this. And then we want to find our paint bucket tool. And you can, let's get some bright color, like blue. Make the background blue. And now you can see everything that you've missed. I'm gonna go back to the giraffe layer, make sure you're on the correct layer. I'm just gonna do this. Oh. Whoops. That's the great thing about undo. Command Z is your friend. Here I'm just gonna take the eraser tool and I'm just gonna erase it. I think this is the most time-consuming part, just because you want to kind of get it as close to perfect as possible, but it's obviously okay to do it. That's looking pretty good. Go up here. So I'm not using the mouse to erase, I'm shaking the table and the camera a little bit. You could also just go around and erase. Use the eraser tool and just, you know, get rid of the big chunks in the corners and stuff, and run the photo, and then just go in with the eraser tool and get rid of the background that way. I've done that many times. Kind of just do that. So see, there's many different ways that you can approach the same effect. And that's really what's so great about Photoshop, is not everyone does the same things in the same way. The little, I don't know, what do you call it on a giraffe, a mane? It's not a mane. So this side is pretty good. So what I was saying was, like, you could literally just go. Trees. I've used every single kind of technique to get rid of this background. Okay, now we'll zoom in and we'll do it, much more precisely. So cute. I love them. And what's nice about the round brush tool is you can kind of get right into that, the under part of his chin. I like to use the shapes to my image. Like that. If you're used to painting, or digital painting like I am, I think that's why sometimes I gravitate more towards the kind of erasing away parts of the background. Just feels a little bit more natural to me than like clicking every single point, you know. Here, like that. I think I did a little bit too much, but it's okay. Let's see what the magic eraser does. Magic eraser? Magic wand. Okay. I guess it is an eraser. Yeah. Alright, there we go. That's pretty good. This kind of cuts off that part, so let's see what happens when I decrease. Yeah. Again, I probably should be just using the magnetic lasso tool, so let's just show it that way. And it's okay to use a bunch of different techniques too, like, this is your project, have fun with it, you know? That's what I say anyway. Look a little bit better. And now if the background was a lot busier, it would have been really hard to get all these details. As you can see, some of them kind of disappeared from the magic wand tool. But in the long run, it probably won't make much of a difference. We're gonna minimize the image anyway. It won't be this big. Just gonna erase everything. Make it quicker. Boom. It's looking pretty good. So this part is really dark and mostly black, or like a dark gray, so I can just go right in. I don't like how it did that. There we go, that's much better. So I just decrease the tolerance there. No! Alright, I see some bits over here that I want to just erase. Oh, that's the brush. What? Where's that erasing? Well, that was weird. My eraser tool just stopped working. Try it again in a second. Let's try again. Eraser tool. Thank you. I don't know why it's weird. we're almost done with this part. Here, edges. And if you ever get to trying doing this kind of technique, I find it so relaxing. Unless I'm in a time crunch, then I'm like, try to get it all the background all like, you know, removed and everything. But if you're just taking your time, it's kind of fun. Over here. All right, I think for the most part we're good. There's a spot here. Okay, and as you can see, our giraffe has been fully removed from his background. So now, we can put this giraffe anywhere. I happen to think the moon is kind of fun, so we're gonna do that. Let's look up moon, see what comes up. I kind of want him on the surface. You know, I kind of want to like mimic this kind of idea, so this one would be pretty good. I think I saw one earlier that was more smooth. I think I looked at moon. Moon surface. Oops. Oh, that's good. Let's see. None of these are stamped. That. Let's see. Definitely had an image before, and I don't know what I looked up. Let's see if I click on this and other ones will show up. I feel like that one's too funky. There's another website we can use that's just like Unsplash. It's called Pexels with an E. Let's do moon. I'm not finding that image. Moon space. Okay. That's okay, we can just work with the other one. Alright, let's go back and just grab that one. So, moon surface. Oh wait, we can go to NASA's page. This one! This is the one! Yay! I just like it. It's just a little bit less bumpy than this one. And I just think it will make it look a little bit more realistic. Maybe download this one. It's a nice square, so that's good. So we have it here. We're gonna make it into a new project in Photoshop. Now I want it to be, you see how it's kind of like slanted? I'm going to unlock it and Command T, and then I'm just gonna turn it. So Command T is transform. So I want this to be as straight as possible, and then I'm just gonna bring it out just so it goes up this face. There we go. Alright, cool. So now we get to do the fun stuff. So let's get rid of the hide the blue layer. So on the giraffe, we're gonna right click, duplicate layer. And you see it says giraffe copy, we can just say giraffe. Duplicate giraffe as giraffe. You can name it whatever you want. And then we're gonna, the destination is in the document NASA / all of that weird letters dash unsplash dot JPEG. Press open. Am I still alive? Is he disconnected? I'm not sure. Am I still alive? Someone let me know. Never mind, we're still good. Sorry about that. Alright, so here's a giraffe. And what I want to do first is make him black and white. So we're going to go down here where it's kind of like a circle that's half colored and half hollow. And a little pop-up will show up and it'll say use saturation. Actually, there's also a black and white one. So it doesn't really matter. I'll just say use saturation. Let's see what that looks like. And then you just want to desaturate them. Alright, it's already starting to fit in. It's so cute. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to make him a shadow. I'm gonna go back and look at these kinds of images and get an idea of what it looks like, like what the shadows kind of look like and stuff. So I think we did moon, NASA, probably write like man on the moon or something. So I kind of want to make a shadow that's kind of like this, and you can see he's more well lit on his left side and a little bit more in the shadows on his right side. So we kind of want to make that effect for our giraffe. So we'll go back to Photoshop. Let's work on the shadow first. Alright, typically what I do is I just click on the layer that I want, I go to help, I use a search bar all the time because I don't know where everything is all the time. There's so many different things you can do in Photoshop, so I just write drop shadow and layer style drop shadow, and this pops up. And now here you have all your settings for your drop shadow. Over here to the left you have much more things that you can do, but for now I just want to mess with the drop shadow. So black is fine. Let's see. So here we can kind of mess with the distance, the spread. Ooh, as you can see, I forgot some little pixels around him, but that's okay. And then the size, which I guess translates to how faded out it is. And opacity is kind of down, so I kind of want to make it go. Yeah. So I kind of want to work with something like that. A little bit more feathered out on the edges. So 13 is pretty good. Spread of 0, because I don't want those pieces that I missed. And then the distance doesn't matter because if you go here, you can kind of bring it anywhere and it doesn't really matter because we're gonna mess with that anyway. So we're gonna press OK. So here under the giraffe layer, you see that you have effects and drop shadow. You can turn all your effects off if you have more things other than drop shadow. If you have drop shadow and like, I don't know, glow and all that kind of stuff, you can turn everything off, or you can turn off select things. So right now I just have drop shadow, but of course I want that on. We're going to right click on this thing that says FX, and we want to say create layer. Some aspects of the effects cannot be reproduced with layers, that's fine. So now we have our giraffe shadow on a separate layer. Woo! So now it's its own entity. So we are going to use the, let's see, I'm gonna flip it first. So flip, vertical, cool. I want to kind of place his feet where his feet are. And I want it to be skewed to the left more. So we're gonna go back to help and then just type skew. So there's a lot of different kinds of transform tools. There's, here you can see on the left, there's scale, rotate, skew, distort, perspective, and warp. For this specific effect, we're gonna use skew. So as you can see, there's a box around my layer. Zoom or scroll down, and then we're gonna select this point. We're gonna skew it to the left. Something like that. And then it kind of went over. So. I just want to make it a little bit smaller. So now I'm just using the normal Command T, and I'm just using this arrow. And I'm just gonna make it a little bit more shorter. So you can kind of see it. And then just bring it up a little bit. I'm just gonna mess with the background a little bit more. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. So we're gonna go back here. Now this is the part where you can kind of like experiment. We're gonna wanna work with the giraffe and give him some lighting effects. And then I just use a typical paintbrush tool, and that way I can kind of manipulate it how I want. Going back to this image just to see what's up. Just kind of observe things. It's okay to use things for reference too. What's going on? Dragging my layer. Okay. Now let's go ahead and lock this so I don't have to. We'll lock the shadow too. So I'm gonna click this button here so this adjustment just affects the giraffe layer. Let's start with levels. So go to levels, and this just affects the whites, the blacks, and the grays. So I'm just gonna adjust them just very slightly just to make them fit in a little bit more. Like I'm looking at the strongest whites in this image and I'm gonna kind of mimic that with the giraffe just to make them fit in. Because if the whites were too muted, I guess too gray, it wouldn't look as though the giraffe fits in. Okay, cool. Another thing I'm just gonna do, just for good measure, is I'm going to go back and just get rid of these little black pieces that I see here because it kind of makes him stick out a little bit, and I want him a little bit more blended into the background. So this also takes time, and this is kind of where you go in and just edit those details. And here with the tail, I'm kind of feeling like I need to switch my brush. Where are my brushes? Okay. I'm gonna lower the opacity, and I'm just gonna kind of like fade it out a little bit. Just because it's like, it's the hair part of the tail, so it wouldn't be this like stark against the background, you know? You can just go in and just like, kind of like paint on it, but really I'm erasing. I'll go back. See, that definitely looks a lot better. I'll go back to the before, see how like dark it was. Now it's a little bit more blended in. A lot. And this line here. I also think that he's maybe a little bit too bright against, you know. I could also just increase the whites of the moon, you know, and then just work that way. Where would it take to? Those harsh lines, I don't like them. Let me just fix the levels because they're bugging me. I think that's better. So cute. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna kind of work sort of fast, just so we can get to the next step here. And I might do the same thing here as I did with the tail, kind of just, it doesn't really matter that much up here where it's black behind him, but right here, I'm gonna kind of fade it out just a little bit. Make my brush a little bit bigger. Yeah, something like that. So it kind of blends in a little bit more. Where it needs to be. I kind of messed up before. Increase my opacity again. Down the line. I need to actually decrease my opacity again. Go a little bit more blended. I'm shaking the camera too much. Alright, we're almost done, and then we can go to the next part. That part, this part, some of this, that's like kind of too bright for him. Giraffes have really skinny lines. Alright, so that looks a lot better. Now what we want to do now is, you know, the shadow kind of looks a little bit out of place, so we want to blend him into the shadow now. So I'm gonna go up here, new layer, and then I'm gonna make a clipping mask. So I'm only gonna be drawing onto the giraffe, and I'll show you the difference, what happens when I don't do that. So if I don't make it a clipping mask, and I draw on this layer, it looks like that. But if I make it a clipping mask, I only draw on the giraffe no matter how out of the giraffe I draw. But you have to make sure your whatever layer you want to be drawing on is underneath that clipping mask, and it doesn't matter if you have these kinds of layer effects over them either. So that's pretty good. Pretty cool. And good. So I'm going to decrease my opacity. Again, I kind of want it to look like that, where, you know, he's really in the shadow. And I'm just going to kind of, you know, open the bottom of his hooves a bit. Maybe decrease it a little bit more. Do something like that. Here. Yeah, it's already starting to look. It's starting to become part of the image. Darker under here. And also the great thing is if, like, I did that, I can always just, or no, let me just, like, do that. I can just go with the eraser tool and kind of bring light back to where I made him dark. Just gonna undo all that. And here you can have fun with it. You can make it as extreme or as subtle as you want. I think I'm gonna go back and bring light back some parts. I could even do the same thing as I did before and make a new layer, make it a clipping mask, and then paint with white. It's making a clipping mask of the clipping mask. Oh, no. Just on the eraser tool. And then I'm going to change the mode of this to be lighten. Just kind of helps. So I'm not really getting rid of any pixels by erasing him, I'm just lightening them up. we're almost done here. The last thing I want to do is, this image is kind of grainy, and just due to the way it was photographed, and then this giraffe is kind of, you know, it's more clear, more high definition. So I'm gonna add some noise to him. So let's see where that is. That's in, it's an image. Filter. Filter, noise. I'm going to add noise. Let's see. I want to make sure our giraffe's in focus. And I want a lot of well, not that much. But I want him to match. You know, that's too much, obviously, and that's too little because there's none on him. I want. Yeah, the monochromatic definitely works. Yeah. It's still a little bit dark. Let me see if I can yeah, if I just decrease his opacity by like 5%, it looks a little bit better. Pretty good. I'm gonna wanna bring him over just a little bit. Oh, he's locked. Select everything. Alright, and that's it. So we're gonna export, save for web. Or you can export as a JPEG, whatever you need. It's 3000 by 3000, which is the original dimensions of, oops, I don't want to say this. A second. We'll name it Giraffe on the Moon. Give it another second. Alright, and then we have it here on the desktop. Open. I like it! That was fun. I want to do this with more animals. Let me know if you want to see that. I would love to see any of you guys try this out. Try it with an animal that you love, a location that you love. And, you know, just experiment, see what happens. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in this morning or checking it out on your own time. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when we go live next. And then so you can also see all of our other projects that me and the DAE staff have been working on. And we also have online lessons and online classes for kids, so be sure to go to thedae.com to check out all of that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.